Hey guys, welcome to episode 5. All right, y'all. So we get a little deep in this episode, and I talk a little bit about trust issues, filling voids with external things, some of the things that I've used to try to fill some of my own voids, and our relationship with people and with God. So I'll touch a little bit about all of that in this episode. And when I replayed it back, it was really it was an eye-opener even for me, because you guys know that these episodes are very unscripted and they come off the cuff. So when I listen back to my own episodes, sometimes God speaks to me through some of the things that I say. And so I pray that you hear this episode and that you resonate with even just one thing. Sometimes we think we have trust issues with people, and in reality, our trust issues are way bigger than we even know. And we talk a little bit about that in this episode. So, whatever you're doing in your car, wherever you are, let's dive into it. There is not one thing that you feel you are missing that God cannot provide. Sometimes when we aren't living the life we want or have always imagined, we try to fill those voids with external things. Like me, for example, I've used sex, I've used men, and other things to fill voids. Except the very thing we try to fill them with eventually over time creates more holes, which in turn eventually creates a bigger issue. Out of fear of losing again or messing up, not getting it right, we hold on to the very things that are creating more holes and try to patch them up and dress them up to look and be what we so badly want them to be. But the truth is that they will never be. Trusting is a scary thing, and oftentimes when we think we have trust issues with other people, we don't necessarily realize that those same trust issues translate over to our relationship with God, the supreme being, spirit, or whatever you call him, the creator. We say we trust God, but when faced with having to let go of the things and people, places that we're so used to, that we've used to fill those voids, we don't want to. Oftentimes, when we worry, when we hold on to things longer than we know we should, when we don't make moves that we're supposed to make out of fear of failing, out of fear of not getting it right, out of fear of what it may look like on the outside, that's essentially telling God we don't trust him. And so we say we trust God, but do we really? How often do we acknowledge the fact that I don't trust God? I don't trust God. And I had to come to a point where I had to get real with myself. Because one thing we can't fool is God. The universe, we cannot trick the universe. We can make everything on the outside look exactly how we want it to look. We can say the things to support what we want things to look like on the outside, but we cannot fool God. And every time we are fearful, every time we worry, every time we hold on to things that we know we shouldn't, that's essentially saying we don't trust God. How then can we say we trust God if we don't even trust him with the very life that he gave us? When we get to a total place of surrender and relinquishing all control, like all control, it allows the real work and transformation to begin. in healing and repairing those holes and filling those voids. So I encourage you today to examine your trust issues with God. Do you trust God for real? Have a real conversation with Spirit. Whether you trust God or you don't trust God, or whatever it is that you're feeling, have a real, genuine conversation with your Creator. And start to identify those areas where you feel like you might have been let down. Often when we feel that we've been let down by God, it's because we've wanted something, and because we didn't get it, we got upset. Very childlike, right? When children don't get what they want, they get upset, they throw a tantrum, they don't speak to you. And it's very similar to the relationship that we have with God. When in fact, are some of the things that we've wanted really things that we've needed. This life is truly not our own. And when we go to God in a place of surrender and say, listen, this is the life that you've given me. What will you have me do in it? Not, this is what I want, God. And so if you don't give it to me, now our relationship is strained. I can't trust you moving forward. We can't treat God like how we treat people. And I'm guilty of doing that myself. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I hope that this episode gave you something to think about regarding your trust issues and your relationship with Spirit. All right, y'all. So that was episode 5. What y'all think? Was that deep for y'all? Because it was most certainly a little deep for me. I had to acknowledge that I had trust issues. Never for one second did I think that my trust issues were with God. And I think oftentimes we get upset when things don't work out the way that we want them to work out and don't go the way that we want them to go or expect them to go. But when we realize that this life is not even ours, and that we walk around oftentimes not trusting the very being that gave us this life, doesn't that sound crazy? Doesn't that sound a little crazy, y'all? But that's what this audio series is about. Just talking through things and really coming in commune and showing that we are really not that different from each other. This podcast, this audio series, because we're not calling it a podcast yet, this audio series is a way to be able to connect with you guys and really talk about the things that we don't really get to talk about. And so, exhale. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you resonated with at least one thing on this episode. I hope that in this episode that you were able to really get real with yourself first. And so I can't wait to bring the next episode. You guys know that these are very unscripted, and so I never really know what God is going to put in my spirit to even say sometimes. And when I listen back to it, I'm just like, okay, God, all right, I'm talking to me. I get the message. So please feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let's connect. And I love you guys. I'll see you on the next episode.